Hey guys, welcome to the Untrendy Collective Podcast. This is the first one, the initial one, the launch. We're so excited to be able to bring these conversations that we've been having with you guys for several months now through our YouTube channels, through our social media outlets about rebuilding, about having honest conversations about being untrendy. Not talking about the highlight reel, but talking about things that are very foundational, very biblical, and also very much into the leadership and wisdom of the Bible. And we want to bring that to men everywhere because no one should be isolated. No one should be alone in this. We're all together. So we want to have this channel, which is why it's called a collective, have everybody included in it. So we want you to watch the YouTube channel. We want you to be inspired by it. And we want your walk with God to be strengthened from it. That's ultimately our goal and our impact today. So thank you guys for joining us. We have our first guest. He's a great friend of mine, a great guy, stand-up guy. You know, he's been an untrendy collective guy since day one, and always admired him. And I've always, even though I haven't kept up with him as much as I should have, always definitely was always on my mind. It was definitely one of those guys that you think of as just a stud and just a good guy. But welcome to the program, Larry Young.
Oh man, dude, you know how to flatter a dude, bro. I'm gonna
I,
slide you some cash when I see you for that one.
that's some Venmo money right there, man. That's
Hey,
right.
come on.
Yeah, yeah. You got to take care of the host, man.
Uh,
But yeah, Larry, we appreciate you joining us, and we're looking forward to you. You've lived a lot of life. You have your own sort of history. You have your own testimony. You have your own story. And that's kind of why this channel has continually developed. I don't want it to be just me talking. I've had contributors. Has been a contributor for a while. We're very thankful for that he's on the channel. And we want to take it a step even further and have this podcast. That way everyone can have stories they relate to. Because we all have a different story. We all have a different walk, right? We all have a different journey. And it's such a beautiful thing that God is able to take whatever that is in your journey, and he even cares about it, which is crazy, right? The most little specific details he's concerned about, man, and he loves you. So that's just always been amazing to me that he will take the weirdest or worst parts of me and do something amazing with it. And I'm still blown away at 46 how this happens continually every day. Larry, would you say that's kind of similar in your life as well?
yeah, absolutely. It is interesting how people take what is to the world a weakness and then take that thing, use it to sanctify you, and then kick you back out into the world and say, okay, go make this difference.
It's
I love
incredible. It is.
it.
It is. And I'm excited to get into your story, Larry. We'll go ahead and just kick it off. What sort of maybe, and I'm sure you have a lot of examples of this, what's maybe a breaking point or maybe a part or a moment in your life that didn't exactly go according to plan, whatever that looks like to you? What was something that sort of fell off the tracks? And tell us a little bit about that moment and what that looked like for you.
Yeah, yeah. I'll try to give you guys the quick and skinny version of that. So around 2017, my wife and I decided to become foster parents, and we had a couple respite between 2017 and 2020, and then in 2020 we actually took on a teenager. And as most of you may recall, a little something happened in 2020 called COVID-19, the
That's right.
pandemic, right? And at that same time, I already had 5 kids, all under the age of 10 at that time. Then we took on a 16-year-old. I've never parented a 16-year-old, nonetheless a foster child. And then from there, I changed jobs, and at that job that I took on, I got promoted. COVID's happening. I had another friend who lost his job, and he needed somewhere to land. So then he's living with me and my family. So now we have 9 people in this house.
Man.
So at that time, before that time, actually, I always prided myself on being someone who was disciplined, took care of my body, and that just kind of fell to the wayside. And so fast forward 2026 in February, my wife and I were out in California, and a gentleman came up to me and he said, "Hey man, did you used to be a football player?" And I said, "Well, yeah, back in high school." And he said something to the effect of like, "Well, man, your wife is a gorgeous woman," and I just figured that you guys may have met when you were playing during your football years. Basically, what he was saying is, "Hey, she's way out of your league, and brother, you don't
Sure.
look like you know what I mean. You don't look like you're
Yeah.
equals."
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and anyways, at that time, I just felt I had to take a long look in the mirror. I was 334 pounds, and I felt like I was just wearing a bodysuit all the time. And finally, just said, "Hey, I got to get some help." And that was the breaking point when I realized my knees hurt, my whole body hurts. I can barely climb the stairs, and something hadn't changed. So to answer your question, that was my breaking point.
Larry, I appreciate you mentioning that, and I know it's probably not even easy to sort of recall that from memory when that was happening, when that guy was talking to you, because I know that you are still, but I mean before that moment, I knew that you were a workout guy as well. So I know as he's telling you this, your heart is probably just breaking. You probably, I mean, you're a big guy. You're probably what, 6'2"? I don't know, how tall are you, Larry?
Dude,
Something
man.
6'2", you were probably 300 pounds, you said, or something at the time, and you probably felt about that big, I'm sure, in that moment. And you're like, I'm not the guy. And if you have a pretty wife and she's sitting there probably with this weird look on her face, like it's awkward for her, she's like, I don't know. And then you're like, but at the same time, I think it says a lot about you because you didn't get upset at the guy. I think a lot of guys would have took that sort of as a slight in a negative way, but that's a lot of character to say, okay, that's pretty terrible that he's telling me this, but he ain't wrong. Like
It's
kind of
not
like in a way, right?
yeah,
In a way that yeah, and that's how you took it, and that's pretty cool that you're able to accept that, even though I feel it right now from the story, and it's horrible. So you did a good job of telling that, but you took that and you said, you know what? I'm gonna do something about this. I'm gonna pick up that brick. I'm gonna pick up that first whatever that first rebuild is. I'm gonna put that in place and get my life back on track. And and I think it's cool too that you're doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for your family. I'm sure with a wife, you have how many? Is it 7 kids now?
7 children.
7 kid, yeah, children. You got a full-time job. You are probably better, I would assume, when you're in better shape, better father, better husband, better employee overall, right? Because you feel better, you're sharper, um, and not to get overly spiritual about it, but I think being in shape, especially as a Christian, I in a way I think God's able to use you even more. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
there's more capacity there.
there you
Um,
go.
yeah, and I don't mean it from a aesthetics standpoint
Right.
or a vain standpoint, but you're sharper. You have more energy. You have more creativity. You're
That's
more
right.
alert. You're more in assignment, if you will, with God and how He intended for your body to operate. Wouldn't you say?
That's right. That's right. Amen, dude. It's like it's a I think about again, this is not about the aesthetics, right? Like in terms of how I look, because that was part of my breaking point, Emery, because as you know, for a long time I prided myself on being someone who was in shape.
Sure.
People would come to me and ask me for advice in terms of fitness and health. But let me tell you something. I had a really unhealthy relationship with food. And so what not only did this expose how unhealthy I was, but it exposed that I had an addiction to food, and I would try to cover it up with another sin. And that sin was me making myself, my body, an idol. And so I worked really hard, get in real good shape to prove to people that I wasn't addicted to food and look how good I look. But the whole time I was just lying to myself, trying to use one sin and use another to cover that one up.
That's good. So there were some unhealthy habits, thought process that you were having, and
Yeah.
still able to come through that. I think is really cool. What was sort of the first brick is what I like to call it. What was the first thing you
Yeah.
did coming back from that conversation and saying, "Hey, I'm going to start here. It might be a small step, but we're going to start here. What
Yeah.
was that, and what did that look like?
Yeah, man. So the first thing I had to do was just be honest with myself. And to your point, I wasn't upset with that gentleman. I almost appreciated him. I remember on the flight back home, I was so uncomfortable. I hated flying because I couldn't fit in the seats. It hurt my hips. And I remember flying back and I was so angry at myself. And I had to get honest with myself and say, okay, Larry, you weigh 334 pounds. Um, what you have done in the past is not working, and you need to humble yourself, come before the Lord, and pray for help. And when I prayed, I had a friend that came to mind. His name was Dr. Nick Henson. And I came to him and I said, hey, I'm at the end of myself. I need some help. I need some guidance. He had just gone on his own weight loss journey, and I saw what he had done, and he was very consistent and had kept it off for over a year and looked fantastic and felt fantastic. And then that second part of that was my workouts, what I'm doing is not working. And so I started looking online, found Body, found Waz a Share and P90X Next Generation, and was just like, okay, I'm going to do this because I'm looking at this guy, and he made fitness very inviting. I didn't feel like me being 334 pounds was a hurdle to me starting the program. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
And that was my first brick, was just getting help, humbling myself, and getting the help that I needed.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful on a lot of different levels. One, you're able to internalize these comments from that man and put them in a healthy sort of capacity. And then two, you brought in someone that you trust, sort of like a mentor or an advisor in fitness, which I think was really a good step for you, because it's good to have somebody on that journey with you, especially in the beginning, when I'm sure, you know, when you see someone that's out of shape and they've just started, man, that's tough because they look the same for a while, for one, right? It takes you a while before you see a difference, but you know that, man, I'm putting in all this work. I'm eating, my diet's on point. I'm grinding in the gym. And I think that maybe is the hardest part, is that beginning part, because you're building up the habit again, and two, you're not really seeing a ton of external factors that are making you confident in your decision. So I think it's pretty cool that you were able to get past that beginning part, the intro to that, if you will,
Yeah.
and stick with it. What has that been? How long has that been since that initial conversation with that gentleman on vacation till today?
Yeah. So the conversation was early February, probably around February 3rd. And I got back, I reached out to Nick around that following week. And then I formally started on February 23rd with P90X. So I said, I'm going all in. And to your point, the first 3 weeks were hard. My knees hurt, my back hurt. And I think my wife, she saw what I was doing. And I'm trying not to start crying
It's okay.
because she knew this time was different. And she told me, she said, I can tell there's like a lion in you that you are unleashing, and you're not the same man.
Wow.
And she got behind me and supported me, and she started hopping in and doing the program with me and eating the foods that I ate. And now even my children are doing the same.
Wow. So from that random, initially like an insult conversation, if you will, to today, you have your best friend, your wife, who's now your workout teammate. How cool is that? I think that only helps both of y'all, right? Because if you're in the house and you both can't wait to work out and you're excited about the types of foods you're eating, it can only benefit each other, right? I mean, that's a great thing. Now you have the kids involved. And so that means I mean, think about this sounds like a small thing, but I think I don't want people to miss this. So you had this weird conversation with this man, and you've taken that to possibly generational health and changes and good habits and seeing the world from a food and a workout standpoint in a healthy way for decades and generations to come. I mean, that's a big deal, man. And I think that's awesome that God is using you in this capacity. And then B, that's really cool that you were able to humble yourself, really. I mean, because I know the kind of guy I am, and we're similar in personalities. You know, I played football as well, I like to work out. So I know there's you're humbled in that moment. You kind of want to get like, hey, what's up, man?
No,
you know,
man.
but to say, you know what, he ain't wrong. Like
No.
he ain't wrong. And let's see what we can do about this. I think that shows a lot, and that is very inspiring. I know that there's people listening that are going to get a ton from this because, especially in the world we're in, the culture that we're in, we came into this Untrendy Collective as sort of rebuilding men in whatever capacity that is. And I think it's very cool that the first episode we're touching on fitness and body image, health and wellness, and food, a good behavior and good habits with food. It's something that people are going through right now, big time. And social media only makes it worse, with AI and people putting all these images, them, you don't know if they're real. There's all
Yeah.
this, these comparisons people do now when they look at the internet and they're comparing themselves to what? To nothing really. You don't know
Right.
the story there. So,
Right.
man, I really appreciate you telling that story. And before we get out here, real quick, what's sort of been, we have this moment, this breaking point, and you have this amazing brick that you picked up, and you've put that to amazing use. What's
Yeah.
kind of the things that you're doing daily and weekly in your life that are they
Yeah.
kind of like they're non-negotiables? They're like, this is what we have to do to get to this level we want to be. What are
Yeah.
some of those?
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
So
So
that's a
that's
really
a
good
really good
question.
question,
And I want
and
to
I
be
want to be
thoughtful in how
thoughtful
I answer
how I
that.
answer that.
The first thing
The
I'll
first
say
thing I'll say
is
is
it's about
it's about
stacking
stacking
habits.
habits,
And this is
and
one
this is
thing that
one
I
thing
got
that I
from
got from
Waz
Waz
Shire
Shire
is
is
every
every
time you
time
make
you
a
make a
decision,
decision,
you're
you're
voting for
voting for
something.
something.
And so
So
every
every
meal
meal
is a
is a
vote for the
vote for the
person that I
person that
want
I
to
want
be.
to be.
Every
Every
workout
workout
is a
is a
vote for
vote
the
for the
person
person
that I
that
want
I
to be,
want to
and every
be, and every
decision is a
decision is a
vote for the
vote for the
person that I
person
want to
that I
be.
want to be.
And
And
one
one
thing
thing
that
that
I
I
decided is
decided
I
is
need to
I need to
simplify
simplify
things.
things.
Uh,
Uh,
I know you
I
and
know
I
you and I
talked about
talked about
this.
this.
I
I
mostly wear
mostly wear
just
just
black
black
shirts
shirts
now,
now,
just black
just black
t-shirts.
t-shirts.
I don't need to
I
make
don't
a
need to
decision,
make a
right?
decision,
Save
right?
the brain
Save the
capacity.
brain capacity.
That's
Um,
true.
you know what I
You
mean?
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meals.
Meals.
I pretty much
Pretty
eat the
much eat
same
the same
thing
thing
every
every
single
single
day
day
for
for
probably a
probably a
quarter,
quarter,
and then I'll
and I'll
reevaluate and
reevaluate and
then
then
eat
eat
something.
something.
So
So
that
that
another
another
thing I've
thing
learned
I've
from
learned from
Waz
Waz
was,
was,
hey,
hey,
like
like
your
your
diet,
diet,
it can
it
be
can be
boring,
boring,
but
but
it's
it's
so
so
interesting. But
interesting.
I
But I
look
look
forward
forward
to
to
each
each
meal.
meal.
Hmm.
I pretty
I
much
pretty
eat the
much eat
same
the same
things every
things every
day.
day.
Um, and I kept that
Kept it
very
very
simple.
simple.
So I
So
try
I
to
try to
keep
keep
even my
even my
meal
meal
prep
prep
to
to
just a
just a
few
few
ingredients.
ingredients,
And so it's
so it's
not
not
overwhelming.
overwhelming.
And
And
one thing
one
that
thing
I
that
try
I
to
try
do
to do
now is I
now is
try
I
to
try to
post my
post
meals.
my
And that's
meals.
not so
And that's
much
not so
for me
much
to show
for
off
me
like,
to
hey,
show
this
off
is
like,
what
hey,
I'm
this is what
doing,
I'm doing,
but it's
but
to
it's
keep
to keep
myself
myself
accountable.
accountable.
And I will
And I will
post about
post
my
about my
workout and I'll
workout, and I'll
post,
post,
hey, I
hey, I
finished this
finished this
workout.
workout.
It's to
It's
keep
to
me
keep me
accountable.
accountable.
And I
I
think, and
think,
part
and
of
part
that
of
is
that
I'm
is I'm
showing
showing
the
the
reality of, hey, this is what you have to do. And again,
again.
I know
I know
I'm,
I'm
cheering for
cheering for
Waz a
Waz a
lot,
lot,
but
but
this
this
goes
goes
back to
back
my
to my
earlier
earlier
point and
point,
just getting
getting
help
help
and just
and
saying,
just saying,
hey,
hey,
I see what
see
this
what this
guy's
guy's
doing
doing,
and I see what
see
he's
what
done
he's
and
done,
just
and
share
just
the
share the
knowledge. And
knowledge.
so
And so
guess
guess
what?
what?
Now I
Now
can
I
do
can
that
do
and just
that and
share it
share
with
it with
others
others
because
because
now I'm
now I'm
almost
almost
60
60
pounds
pounds
down
down,
and it's
and
been a
it's
little
been a
over
little
three
over 3
months.
months.
And I'm like,
Wow.
And
here's the
here's the
blueprint.
blueprint,
And
and
there you
there you
go.
go.
And
So
yeah,
yeah,
man,
man,
that's,
that
I hope
I
I
hope I
answered your
answered your
question
question
there in
You
there.
terms of
did.
the,
Yeah, spot on. And I like that you're doing those things as far as posting and talking about it because if you struggle with something, somebody else is struggling as well. So if you're able to help them, I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's just a pass it on. Why wouldn't you? I don't think it's you showing off. It's you're passing it on. It's a
It's
skill set
stewardship.
you've learned. Yeah, exactly. It's a stewardship. It's a skill set you've learned. You know other people are in that same position. Why not? It's a couple of things that you talked about that I like. One is you've kept things simple where you don't have to be that good. And I think that's
No,
a that's a big deal, right? Because if you're already struggling with something and it's been a hiccup for you or a hindrance, why would you make that complicated to be victorious in that?
nailed it.
Right? But keep it simple. You're like, hey, man, we're probably going to eat mostly the same foods every day, but you know what? They're the right foods. I'm going to feel phenomenal, and I'm crushing my goals. So
Yes.
that's okay, and I think that's a big deal. And also talk, and like I said, also talking about the posting. I think those are two things that you did. Is you're cluing people in on what you're doing so they can be successful. And I think you've set yourself up for success. I think it essentially is what it is by keeping things simple. So that was very smart on your part.
Yeah, and just real quick too, and another thing is we talked about this earlier, and that was just making certain things non-negotiable. Not only has my fitness and health been impacted, I've been a lot more intentional about my scheduling now. So
Mm.
now it's made me intentional in other areas of my life because I've set priorities accordingly. And now when it comes to working out, it's 6 days a week. It's non-negotiable. Anybody can find 45 minutes to an hour. Anybody. And it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. You can find an hour out of 24 to do something, some sort of movement. And I love what you said. It's not perfection. It's a step. Just take a step.
It
And
is.
that's what you do. And then eventually you'll look back and you'll say, I've moved from here all the way to here.
Right.
And it's amazing what stacking those habits can do. Even with me now reading my Bible, I'm way more consistent.
So
It's
it's
insane.
affected every part of your life, and
Every
that's
part.
that's so cool that this is the story that you brought up. As we close here, a gentleman out on vacation tells you a very untrendy, you know,
I look
conversation
behind that.
with you. Yeah, you kind of want to. I know
I
that's so
do.
cool. It really is cool. So you've taken that untrendy conversation and you've taken all the way to changing your life, your wife's life, your children, and it's also bled into every other aspect of your life because it sounds like it's just created sort of a discipline within everything, with your spiritual life, with your work life, whatever. So look, guys, I hope that you're hearing what's going on here and what we're saying. This is something that it affects everyone at some point or another, especially specifically with weight loss and health and wellness. So be inspired by this story. Be inspired by Larry's story. If you're enjoying our YouTube channel, if you're enjoying our podcast, please subscribe. Leave a comment. We would love to hear from you guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Larry, for taking the time to join in. And thank you all for listening. And like I said, please subscribe, comment. You guys take care. Have a wonderful day.